Imagine you are starving. Your tribe has not eaten a meat in days. The winter wind is cutting through your skin. Your stone axe is cracked. Your spear tip is chipped. And somewhere in the frozen dirt beneath your feet, there is a hidden material strong enough to build cities, cross oceans, and tear open the earth itself. But to you, it looks like nothing. Just red stone. Just heavy dirt. Just another useless rock. So you step over it. Your child kicks it away. Your people use it to fill a wall. And for thousands of years, the secret stays buried. The false answer is simple. Humans discovered iron because they became smarter. But that is not the real story. The deeper truth is darker. Humans discovered iron because survival kept cornering them. Stone failed them. Bronze betrayed them. Trade routes collapsed. Weapons bent. Fields resisted the plow. And fire slowly taught ancient hands what the mind could not yet understand. This is the story of the red rock that broke the Stone Age. For most of human existence, survival had a sharp edge made of stone, flint, obsidian, quartzite. These were not primitive toys. They were life or death. A sharp flake could slice hide. A stone point could open an animal. A hand axe could split wood. For nearly 2 million years, this was enough. Barely. But stone had a cruel weakness. It shattered. One bad strike against bone could break a tool forever. One missed blow against hardwood could ruin hours of work. Stone could be shaped once. Then it was done. If the edge broke, the tool died. Ancient humans lived inside that limit. Their weapons were sharp, but fragile. Their tools were useful, but unforgiving. Their world was built by impact. Hit the stone correctly, and you survived. Hit it wrong, and hunger came closer. Then came the first false miracle, copper. Somewhere in the ancient Near East, people noticed strange green and blue rocks. They placed them in hot fires. They watched soft metal bleed out. It must have felt impossible. A stone that became liquid. A rock that could take the shape of a mold. A material that could be hammered back after damage. This was not just a tool upgrade. This was control. Stone gave humans edges. Copper gave humans choice. But copper was weak. It bent too easily. A copper blade looked powerful, then it met bone, then it met hardwood, then it met another weapon, and the edge folded. So humans peeled another layer from the mystery. They mixed copper with tin. The result was bronze. Bronze was harder. Bronze held edges better. Bronze could become swords, shields, chisels, axes, and plows. Bronze helped build the first great civilizations. Cities rose, kings ruled, armies marched, writing appeared, trade expanded. The world seemed to be entering a new age of power. But bronze had a hidden weakness. Not in the metal, in the supply. Copper was common enough. Tin was not. Tin was scattered. Tin lived in distant places. Ancient kingdoms needed ships. They needed caravans. They needed treaties. They needed safe roads. They needed calm seas. They needed strangers not to become enemies. A bronze sword was not just a weapon, it was a supply chain. A plow was not just a farming tool. It was a political agreement stretched across deserts and oceans. If one trade route broke, metal became scarce. If one fleet sank, armies weakened. If one kingdom fell, farmers lost tools. Bronze looked strong in the hand, but civilization built on bronze was fragile underneath. And beneath every one of those cities, another metal was waiting. Iron. It was everywhere. In mountains, in riverbeds, in clay, in red soil, in the dull brown stones that nobody respected. Iron was not rare. Iron was not distant. Iron was under human feet. But here was the cruel joke. Ancient people could not see it, not as metal. Gold sometimes appears as shining nuggets. Copper can appear as raw metallic pieces. Iron almost never does. Iron loves oxygen. Given enough time, iron turns into rust. And over the age of the earth, almost every piece of surface iron had already become iron oxide. To ancient eyes, iron ore was not hidden metal. It was red rock, brown rock, heavy rock, dead rock. The false answer says humans found iron by recognizing ore. The deeper reveal is stranger. The first iron humans used did not come from the ground. It came from the sky. Meteorites carried metallic iron to Earth. Fragments of broken asteroids fell through the atmosphere. Some survived. They landed as dense, strange stones. They were heavier than normal rock. They did not chip like flint. They dented. They could be polished to a metallic shine. They pulled at magnets. Everything about them felt wrong. Ancient humans noticed. Of course they noticed. A hunter notices weight. A toolmaker notices texture. A survivor notices anything that does not behave normally. To them, this was not earth metal. It was sky metal. In ancient Egypt, iron was described as metal from heaven. Other cultures also linked iron with the sky. This was not poetry at first. It was observation. The only iron they knew had fallen from above. Imagine finding a black stone in the desert. It is heavy beyond reason. It resists your hammer. It glints when cut. You do not know atoms. You do not know nickel. You do not know asteroids. But you know one thing. This rock is not like the others. Meteoric iron became sacred, rare, royal, more precious than ordinary metal. Beads were made from it. Blades were made from it. Kings were buried with it. But sky iron could never change the world. There was too little. A meteorite could make a dagger. It could not make plows for villages. It could not arm common soldiers. It could not build bridges. To change human history, iron had to come from the dirt, and that required fire to do something almost impossible. The next false answer is that humans melted iron. They did not. Not at first. Bronze melts at temperatures ancient furnaces could reach. Copper and bronze can become liquid in a hot enough kiln. They can flow. They can fill molds. They can become tools by casting. Iron is different. Pure iron melts at a much higher temperature, far beyond the reach of early bronze furnaces. So when ancient workers placed red iron-rich rocks into ordinary metal furnaces, nothing useful seemed to happen. No shining liquid pooled at the bottom. No metal flowed. The ore stayed stubborn. Red hot, solid, useless. Every reasonable conclusion said the same thing. This rock was not worth the effort. But survival has a habit of forcing unreasonable experiments. Ancient metalworkers kept improving fire, not for iron, for everything else. They learned that charcoal burned better than wood. Charcoal was cleaner, hotter, more consistent. They enclosed fires inside clay and stone shafts. Hot air rose. Fresh air entered below. The fire strengthened. Then came bellows, leather lungs for fire. They pushed air into the furnace. They fed the charcoal oxygen. The heat climbed higher, still not hot enough to melt iron, but hot enough for something ancient workers could not explain. Inside those furnaces, charcoal did not always burn completely. With limited oxygen, it produced carbon monoxide, invisible, hungry, dangerous. That gas rose through the furnace. It touched iron oxide. Then it stole the oxygen away. The rock did not melt. It changed. Solid red ore became solid metallic iron. Not as liquid, not as a shining stream, but as a spongy, dark, ugly lump. A bloom. This was the real birth of iron. Not a river of metal, not a clean discovery, a dirty lump pulled from fire. Imagine the first person who saw it. They expected slag, waste, maybe failed ore. Instead, the lump behaved differently. When struck hot, it did not shatter. It bent. It compressed. It yielded. That was the signal. Stone breaks. Metal moves. A new material had entered human hands. But even then, iron was not ready. A raw bloom was a mess. It was full of slag, full of holes, weak, ugly, almost alive with impurities. The blacksmith had to beat it into usefulness, hammer after hammer, blow after blow, while it glowed white hot. Each strike squeezed out slag. Each strike collapsed empty spaces. Each strike forced iron particles together. The smith was not just shaping metal. He was making the metal become itself. This was brutal work. Loud, hot, exhausting. A body could be ruined by it, but the reward was extraordinary. Wrought iron, tough, bendable, repairable, local. It did not need tin. It did not need distant ships. It did not need a king's trade network. A village with ore, trees, clay, and knowledge could make iron. That changed everything. But at first, iron was not better than bronze. This is another false answer. People imagine iron replaced bronze because iron was instantly superior. It was not. Early iron was often soft. A bronze blade could hold an edge better than plain wrought iron. An early iron sword could bend. An early iron tool could disappoint. The Iron Age did not begin the moment iron was discovered. It began when humans learned how to improve it. And once again, the discovery came through fire. Blacksmiths noticed something. Iron left in charcoal for a long time became harder. A blade heated and reheated in a charcoal fire behaved differently. Certain parts of a bloom made better edges. Certain cooling methods changed the result. They did not know why. They did not know carbon existed. but charcoal was feeding carbon into hot iron. Tiny amounts entered the metal. Less than 1% could change everything. Iron became steel. Then came another strange lesson. Heat the carbon-rich iron, quench it fast, drop it into water. The metal hardened. Sometimes too much. Sometimes it cracked. So smiths learned tempering. Heat again. Soften slightly. Balance hardness with toughness. No theory, no equations, no microscopes. Just eyes, hands, memory, failure. Apprentices watched masters. Masters repeated what worked. Bad blades taught lessons. Good blades became legends. This is how humans survived before science. They built maps of cause and effect with pain. They did not need to know the invisible world. They needed to know what kept the edge sharp. Then, history delivered pressure. Around 1,200 years before the Common Era, the Bronze Age world began to break. Palaces collapsed. Cities burned. Trade routes failed. Tin became harder to obtain. Bronze became expensive. The old system cracked. For elites, this was a disaster. For iron, it was an opening. When bronze was available, people preferred it. When bronze disappeared, people needed another answer. Iron ore was everywhere. Charcoal could be made almost anywhere. Bloomer furnaces could be built locally. The metal was difficult, but it was possible. And possible is powerful when starvation is near. Iron spread because it answered a survival crisis. Farmers needed plows. Soldiers needed weapons. Carpenters needed nails. Hunters needed blades. Communities needed independence from collapsing trade. Iron gave them that. Slowly the red rock became a revolution. Iron axes cleared forests. Iron plows cut heavier soils. Fields expanded. Food increased. Populations grew. Iron sickles harvested grain faster. Iron chisels shaped wood and stone. Iron nails strengthened buildings. Iron tires reinforced wheels. Iron chains lifted loads. Iron spearheads armed common soldiers. Power began to move. Not instantly, not evenly, but deeply. Bronze had belonged to networks. Iron could belong to villages. That was the terrifying shift. Metal was no longer only the privilege of palaces. A farmer could own iron. A local smith could arm neighbors. A community could make tools from nearby earth. The red rock made ordinary people stronger. That is why blacksmiths became almost supernatural figures. To ancient eyes, their work made no sense. They took dirt-colored stone. They buried it in fire. They worked bellows like breathing monsters. They pulled out a black sponge. They hammered it into blades. They made tools that outlived bone, wood, and stone. Of course, people saw magic. Of course, myths formed around smiths. Gods of fire, gods of iron, divine forges, secret workshops. Weapons made by beings outside normal human life. The smith stood between worlds. Earth and fire, rock and metal, weakness and power. He knew the hidden behavior of matter before anyone knew what matter was. But iron was not one single invention. It was many human struggles happening in different places. In the Near East, bloomery iron spread through furnace craft. In China, furnaces became hot enough to melt iron completely. Cast iron could be poured into molds. It was brittle, but useful. In India, smiths developed high-carbon crucible steel. The blades later associated with Damascus steel became famous for strength and beauty. In parts of Africa, iron smelters built tall furnaces that used natural draft with astonishing skill. Different peoples, different methods, same ancient hunger. Take the dead rock, use fire, make survival sharper. And the story did not stop. The bloomery became the blast furnace. The small furnace became the industrial giant. Pig iron led to steelmaking. Bessemer converters turned molten iron into mass steel. Railways crossed continents. Ships crossed oceans. Skyscrapers climbed into the sky. Machines multiplied human muscle. Factories transformed economies. The modern world rose on iron bones. But the deeper truth is still simple. Every steel beam began as ore. Every rail began as red rock. Every bridge began as dull earth. The same chemistry still matters. Oxygen must be taken from iron. Carbon must be controlled. Heat must be mastered. The ancient bloomery and the modern steel plant are separated by scale, not by the core mystery. A person once pulled a dark lump from a furnace and realized it was not stone. That moment still echoes. It echoes in the knife in your kitchen, the pipes in your walls, the car outside, the train tracks under cities. the cranes above skylines, the rebar hidden in concrete. The world looks modern, but its bones remember the prehistoric fire. So the next time you see a red stone in the dirt, remember this. For most of human history, it looked worthless. Then survival forced humans to look again. The Stone Age did not end because stone vanished. It ended because humans found a stronger secret inside the earth. Not by understanding it first, but by burning it, breaking it, hammering it, failing with it, and trying again. The red rock broke the Stone Age because ancient humans refused to stop at the surface. They peeled the world open, one fire at a time, and somewhere beneath our feet, another overlooked material may be waiting. Another dull thing, another ignored thing, another survival answer we do not yet understand. The question is not whether it exists. The question is whether we will recognize it before we need it.